Good morning. This is Sean P.
This is Big Root.
And we are the brothers.
I'm tired of the same rap songs. Every new hit's just to fucking sing along. Rapping so boring, now correct me if I'm wrong. It's like they took the art out the fucking art form. I'm tired of the same rap songs. Every new hit's just to fucking sing along. Rapping so boring, now correct me if I'm wrong. It's like they took the art out the fucking art form.
Coming to you live from the Bronx.
And today's episode is Jordan's Dance.
Yes, most people, if you are a sports fan, probably watched the 10-part series, The Last Dance on ESPN.
Yes, entitled The Last Dance. It's funny because this documentary seems to have two audiences. It has the audience that grew up, lived through this era, is fully aware of it. Not the behind-the-scenes stuff, but just the impacts of Michael Jordan, his career, and the NBA's growth during his tenure. And then you have the other audience, which is experiencing Michael Jordan's greatness for the first time. And that's why it's kind of a blending of the generations in that sense.
Definitely, because a lot of the younger generation, all they know is Air Jordan sneakers.
Exactly. The symbol, the myth, not the actual man and the performance that many of us watched, appreciated, and sometimes hated, because there are scenes from the old days that brought back the emotions that you felt then. At least I know for me, some of that same hatred and anger actually still surfaced.
Yeah, definitely. Those who were fans of other players and other teams during that era that reopened some old wounds that had healed.
That have not healed or have healed however you look at it. But it's true. So before we dive into the documentary The Last Dance, what is your overall recollection of the Jordan impact? Just his career, the NBA prior to him, with him, post him, just Michael Jordan.
All right. I'm going to take it back actually to North Carolina because I was a kid. I watched when they beat Georgetown for that championship over Patrick Ewing. Never heard of Michael Jordan at that point. He was just some guy that hit a shot. In fact, I think the announcers referred to him as Mike Jordan. So he wasn't even Michael Jordan at that time. Basically, he was one of those guys. To me, it was must-see TV because he brought a certain flair and energy to the game that you had seen bits and glimpses. I never saw Dr. J in his prime because he was the ABA and the basketball wasn't on TV like that back then. So he was a very exciting player, and I wanted to watch him just score. I wasn't even worried about him winning or losing. It's just that to watch him and his energy.
Right. So that was your introduction to him, and then he comes into the league. Everything about his career, even up to that point. Well, just to go back to that point, what did he do as a freshman in North Carolina on the biggest stage?
National championship game. They're down, I believe, by one at the time. He gets the ball in the corner and drains the game-winning shot. It wasn't a buzzer beater, but it was the game-winning shot. And that was just, I guess, an eerie premonition of what was to come later down the line.
Right, exactly. And that's why I referred back to that because basically his winning ways go that far, even back to high school. If you followed his story, there was the story where he didn't make the varsity team as a junior and instead of getting beaten down, that drove him to be the best, came back as a senior and dominated and that trajectory has just been his career. So I think that's a good way to start off. For me, early Michael Jordan stories, I didn't follow college ball at that point, so I didn't really pay attention to him in Carolina. I didn't really follow him coming to the league initially because I wasn't a super basketball fan at that point. So I think I do remember when he broke his leg because that was a story, and I guess for me, my early experience with Jordan was that he was human. He was someone who, like anybody else, could have adversity, hardships, and come back for it. And then I think I vaguely knew the Boston Garden story, where he just lit up the garden, which is an iconic place. And then I guess for me, the memories just blur together. I knew he was a dunk champion and he was exciting to watch. But I think for me, the first real standout Jordan story is the shot over Craig Elo, believe it or not. And that's because I just wasn't a pure basketball fan. So I didn't have this obsession that a lot of people had with him. I didn't track his career. I was aware of him like most people, but I wasn't a fan. And so his greatness was a slow build.
Yeah, for me, I was a fan, but not say a Michael Jordan fan. I was a fan of his skill. I mean, I hadn't seen anybody really that was able to score 60 points like that and make it look so easy.
Easy and fun. And
And fun. Because
Yeah.
again, I was a Knicks fan. We had Bernard King had back-to-back 50-point games in, I think it was the 84 season when he was like the scoring champ. He was nasty, but he was more of a regular player, whereas Michael Jordan did it with flair, finger rolls, dunks, and looking amazing. It's
Right.
like 1 against 5.
Right. No, exactly. So jumping into the documentary, because the documentary does all that. It goes all the way to the beginning, his humble beginnings, and just it tracks him as he gets to that point. And it goes, it does a time jump back and forward. So it really focuses on the last three-peat. Well, actually, just basically honing in on the last dance, the last season. But I guess it led up to that point. So I think the initial power of the documentary is not the regular footage that is recollected for a lot of us. It is the behind-the-scenes stuff that shows you another dimension to Michael Jordan, the Chicago Bulls, and basically everybody, because you realize it's never as easy as it looks.
Yeah, you get to see behind the curtain, see the wizard, and see what's really going on. Because all of us who watch sports, we see the ESPN highlights and games and things like that. But what makes them tick is what you don't get to see.
And I don't understand it. I want something good to listen to. I demand it. All the real artists on another planet, and me, I'm the last MC still standing.
Exactly, and just the humanity and the reality of it. Because jumping forward to this past basketball season, or rather last season, I should say, in the finals, going back to Kevin Durant's injury, again, I think there was this notion by a lot of people that he was just going to miraculously come back from his initial injury and play well and lead his team to a championship. When the reality was that he had a serious injury that most doctors would tell the average patient is going to take a certain amount of time to recover from. And for some reason, people think that wasn't going to apply to him, that reality somehow wasn't going to impact him. And reality struck really hard, right? He got hurt again, which to me should have been expected. To me, because he didn't have his foot laid up for 8 weeks, knowing he's not going to play or do anything for that amount of time. It was only a matter of time before the injury really happened.
Well, you called it in the sense that he wasn't even trying to play gingerly. He was actually dancing around like he was 100%.
Right.
Which probably speed up his demise.
Right. And again, not to get off topic, but I just think that showed that even with these athletes at the highest level, that real life and reality is always going to play its part. And I think as fans, the media, we kind of think of it as a movie, as a story. It's not. These are real people that are really performing. And then going back to Jordan, we see that even at the highest level, at the most accomplished athlete, it was just a human being pushing himself and those around him.
Yeah, I think what I saw when you look behind the veil is his motivation, how driven he was to try and win. It wasn't like most average people. They want to win, but he's willing to sacrifice all kinds of things, push people to where they don't want to get pushed as far as his teammates, basically isolate himself because, again, for him to be where he was, he really couldn't do a lot of things that other people did.
Exactly.
So you could understand, in the words of Kobe, why, say, Shaq wanted to be a fun-loving guy and he didn't want to work as hard because he wanted to enjoy himself. Jordan was like, forget enjoyment, I want the ring.
Yeah. So I think, behind the scenes for me, and again, not to just ignore the game footage and all of that, but again, some of us lived through that. Some of us saw it fun, painful. We'll talk about a painful memory in a minute. Also a triumphant memory, but I think one of the first things that really shocked me as far as the Last Dance and the behind the scenes stories we didn't know was how much the Bulls management and ownership seemed to challenge their ability to win. And by that I mean, if we go back to Jerry Krause, the late Jerry Krause, not to talk of negatively of the dead, but of a general manager who seemed to not appreciate what was happening in front of him, right? And all that's in the documentary, so you can see all the different personalities and their dynamics. But on the outside, you would never imagine that. On the outside, you would imagine that this is the greatest team, arguably, having one of the greatest runs in modern NBA history. And why are we fighting, right? Why is there so much turmoil? Why is there so much chaos? And how are they performing so well despite all this chaos? And I think that's one is what I took away, that you would have thought that Jordan would literally have the keys to the city and Pippen would be right next to him and they would just, never even need money. Every door would open as they walk in, and that clearly wasn't the case.
Yeah, it seemed to be an internal power struggle. Who was more valuable, the general manager in management or the players? What role did Phil play in this? Everybody seemed to want to, be divisive and have their own agendas. And what's kind of strange in a sport where there's a salary cap and everything is structured, basically the owner's like, I'm not making money. That's more important than winning championships.
Yeah. And I think that was, one of the underlying factors that this was a business and it's not working the way I wanted it to work, even though all indications this is one of the most successful parts of the business, right? One of the most successful parts of the NBA, which had tremendous growth under the 90s. I mean, like they indicate, from 92 to 98, the NBA just exponentially took off and became something totally beyond what had happened before. And
Well, not to jump off topic, but it's a little bit, it shows you that what is the desired goal of these sports teams? Is it to be a champion or is it to make money?
right, and that's why I emphasize the fact it's a business, right? Because not to get off topic, but I think people are happy that they have their Apple, their iPhones, and their tablets, or people have their Android devices. And again, they're not making these devices for us to be happy. They're making them to make money. But they're making a lot of money because they are making devices to make us happy. And bringing that back to the Bulls, yeah, they were performing really well, at least on the court and appearance-wise. But I guess they weren't making enough money as a business that they were content with where they were, which is just mind-blowing to us because when you think about the NBA in the 90s and you think about the Bulls in the NBA in the 90s, you think the opposite. You think that money's flying in through the windows, everybody's happy, every day's a champagne day, and the documentary showed that that was not the case.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So I think we have the same memory as we can jump in, and I'll lead into that a little bit because originally I was not a New York Knicks fan. I am a Knicks fan now, I admit it, and it does pain me to say that. And we did an episode previously called Knicks West Lakerland, which shows you that the dysfunction we have here, we're sometimes happy to share that with other teams because we live it. But I wasn't always a Knicks fan, which is funny because I used to be a Lakers fan. And the only reason I'm a Lakers fan, to our listeners, is because of my brother, my partner here, the group. He was a Lakers fan. Exactly. So I probably could have told you much more about the Lakers in the 80s and going into the 90s, which is one reason why I probably didn't follow Michael Jordan. I just didn't really care. And when Pat Riley came to the Knicks, that's when I became a Knicks fan, right? That's when I left
Changed the culture.
Exactly. And so Pat Riley came to the Knicks, and we as fans expected a lot of success and a lot of championships. And Big Roop, you could take it from there.
Well, I don't know if we expected championships off the bat. I think what really impressed me with Pat Riley and the Knicks was that first season when they pushed the Bulls all the way to 7 games.
Right.
And it just seemed that we now were real rivals, real contenders for an NBA title. Before that, I guess we were pretenders.
Right. And I get what you're saying, but I'm saying when Pat Riley came, right, for me, and look at the success he had with the Lakers, that's what I was imagining for the Knicks. Not saying right away, but it wasn't like, okay, Pat Riley's coming nice. It's like, yes, Pat Riley's coming. Now we're going to have what we need to get to that next level, right? So even before the season, that's what I'm saying. That's what invigorated my passion. I watched the first finals with the Bulls and the Lakers, and we haven't really talked about that much. We'll probably do an episode on that and on how history has kind of retweaked it a bit because most people think the Bulls were the favorites, and they weren't, I believe. I mean, not looking at the stats or anything, but the Lakers were the Giants and the Bulls were the up-and-comers.
Yeah. We'll get into that in another episode, but the Lakers were a team that had been to the finals 9 times in 11 years.
Exactly.
So they were big brother,
right,
and these were the upstart Bulls.
Right. So that's the Pat Riley that I was expecting. Not that he was coaching, but that's what I'm saying. I was expecting that energy to come to New York and, okay, we're going to build a winning team here, right? And so like you said, going into that first season in the conference finals.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was a foregone conclusion in most people's mind that the Bulls were a superior team and would dispatch the Knicks very quickly.
True.
And it was a hard 6 games. We got to the 7th game, and still no one knew who was going to win. Chicago did pull it out, but the way that we played, we thought that, we have something to build on definitely in New York. And again, I think what helped the Bulls was all their battles with Detroit to get to that level. Made them a little bit more battle-tested than we were at that time.
Right, exactly. And like you said, I don't think anyone expected instant success for the Knicks. But the thing is, as the Knicks grew in stature and became the new rivals of the Bulls, it seemed that the Bulls were going to be pushed more than they had previously, and that their time on top wasn't going to be as long as it was. So they got through the 92 season. They win their second championship. The 93 season comes along. The Bulls are doing what they do, just driving along. And, again, the memory that most Knicks fans take with them forever. And it's still electrifying to see it because you see it on a documentary. I thank Michael Jordan for being as honest as he was because he put that moment in and gave us Knicks fans the feelings that we needed. And what was that moment?
I'm not sure which moment you're talking about. I know what hurt me the most.
No, well, the moment that I'm talking about is the dunk.
Oh, okay, Mr. Starks.
Right. And the reason why I emphasize that is there's a poster based on it. There's lots of debate whether Michael Jordan was a part of that poster, right? We know that Michael Jordan was careful to ease away from that moment because
he tried to.
He tried to, right. But he's still there.
He's in the picture.
Exactly. So basically, John Stark playing far above his level. Basically trying to go toe-to-toe with the great Michael Jordan, which talks about just championshipness and just the ability to rise to the occasion. Does a spin move, comes baseline, and just does almost impossible twist dunk, left-handed
yep.
finish over Jordan and Grant. We say Grant and Jordan. Grant was closer. But that moment just lifted up Knicks fans to...
people have to understand, this is at the Garden, full house, fans cheering all over the place. We're watching on TV, and he makes, like you said, that great move. He goes down, and all he's
Exactly. I mean, it just took us to another level. So for me, that moment, and again, it's called the dunk, right? Why is it called the dunk, ladies and gentlemen? Well, simply, this is what Jordan had did to everyone for so long, and now someone gave him a portion of his own medicine.
And I don't understand it. I want something good to listen to. I demand it. All the real artists on another planet, and me, I'm the last MC still standing.
So we take pride in that. It's acknowledged as the dunk. The poster is very famous. In fact, we should all have it in our houses. You know, it should be a staple in every New York home, but it is what it is. So going back to Jordan's dance, that was some of the ups and downs of it. But at every point you see that on the court, the team found a way to achieve. But there always seemed to be this behind-the-scenes drama.
Well, the thing I took away from it somewhat is that looking from afar, it seemed like the Bulls had it, not say easy, but it wasn't hard work. It wasn't earned. And when you actually watch the documentary, you realize how close they came to losing several times.
Exactly.
And that they had to push through. It wasn't like someone gave them this championship easy.
Exactly. So, yeah, each episode focuses on either Jordan or another player / another person whose role was essential at that point. And it's not necessarily chronological, as I think it's more just narrative as far as whose story was front and center at that point. Jordan acknowledges that whenever you say Michael Jordan, you have to say Scottie Pippen. So he acknowledges that in his own words, that Scottie was essential to the success of the Bulls, which is good because we know that, but it's good when people are humble and honest enough to share that.
Yeah, one could argue neither one won without the other because even Pippen played a few years after Jordan. He never won another championship.
Exactly.
And
But
Jordan never won without him.
Exactly. But I just think it's good because he directly says it. I mean, we know it, but he says it. Because some people swear that it was just Jordan all by himself, and he's like, no, that's not true. And all of the other role players that played key positions, you know, it wasn't just Kerr, it was Paxson, it was Hodges, it was B.J. Armstrong. It was, you know, the triple of centers that they would always throw at big men.
It was a team effort, and I forgot who said they told Jordan, you're not going to win a championship till you learn to trust your teammates. You got to have everyone doing their small part. You can't do it all by yourself.
Right. But in fairness, in early episodes of The Last Dance, we also learned that when Jordan first came into the league, especially coming from North Carolina with this team-oriented focus, that was his goal. It's just that the Bulls was a broken organization, a broken team, and there was no on-court leadership, so he filled that role. I think that's probably the initial thing that shocked me, that he didn't come in to dominate the team. He came in to help. And he realized that there was no one leading, so he took up that mantle.
Well, true. And again, like you said, he came from North Carolina, a good structure. When he was a freshman, he had Sam Perkins, James Worthy, you know, all-time players who mentored him and nurtured him.
Right.
The NBA, he didn't have that, unfortunately.
Well, not unfortunately, because who knows? I mean, I definitely question would he have become the great Michael Jordan on another team that was already established. But I think the bigger point for me is he didn't come looking for that. Like, he didn't come to dominate. He came to be a part of something and then realized he had to build it. And I think that's another takeaway, or the first takeaway for me was that, okay, he wasn't an egotistical person purely. His competition level is off the roof. We know that. He wanted to be the best of the best. But he also wanted everyone around him to be the best of the best as far as winning, as far as a team. And when that wasn't the case, he had to kind of find his way and then hope for the pieces to come.
True. Now, one thing I do want to say is I know there's a lot of Michael Jordan fans and everything. I'm upset because the one time I actually got to see Michael Jordan play live, he had 16 points. I went to the Garden. I'm expecting maybe not 50, but 38, 40, 45, 16 points. So he let down one fan that time.
There you go, Mike. You weren't perfect, and hopefully the Knicks won that game.
I don't even remember because I think this is before the Pat Riley era, so we weren't a playoff quality team. I was there basically to see Jordan do
well.
work, and
Right.
The one thing I went to see, I didn't see.
Right. No, I mean that's true because again, the mythology is that Jordan always won, never lost, and had it easy. And like you said, the Last Dance really delves into the challenges of his life and the challenges of a winning organization, how the pieces have to come together.
And I don't understand it. I want something good to listen to. I demand it. All the real artists on another planet, and me, I'm the last MC still standing.
So, any last thoughts or closing action? I mean, I think we definitely highly recommend this documentary to anyone take the time and go through all the episodes on ESPN. It's on the app. It's on demand. It's out there.
I think it's a must-watch for any aspiring athlete if they want to see what it takes to be a champion, both physically and also the mental aspects, the way you got to prepare yourself and go through battles. And, just being good is not good enough if you really want to be an elite player. Everybody's good at that level. You got to find something to separate yourself.
Agreed. And I think my final thought, again, we're not doing a call to action as such, other than to watch the documentary. But as far as Jordan's dance, and the Last Dance documentary, I think people should just realize that all of these athletes and all of these sports are far more amazing and impressive when you realize they're just like us. They're regular people living regular lives. Yet for a small amount of time, they perform at a high level that makes us think that they're more than human, right? That everything is scripted and magical. And it's not. They're literally just like us, but they're just playing so well. They're just performing at such a high level. And we should all do that, right? We should all, whatever job life we have, just like Big Rube said, just look at the determination and the hard work it takes to be successful and realize we can all do that. We're not going to all be Michael Jordan, right? We're not going to all have the Last Dance. But we all should realize it's not as easy as it looks. You have to really roll your sleeves up and do the work. And kudos to Michael Jordan and the Bulls because they did.
I agree, 100%. I mean, watching Michael Jordan play is like watching, Mozart perform. It's like watching Stephen Hawkins figure out equations. It's not normal. It's above and beyond. But even with all the natural talent, you have to have the determination to make it come to fruition.
Exactly. You got to do the work. And I guess the last thing I'll say is a quote that a friend of mine always says, quoting Michael Jordan, "No one can practice for you."
That's true. You got to put the work in yourself.
Exactly. So again, this episode is Jordan's Dance. I'm Sean P.
I'm Big Roop.
And we're the brothers.
Peace out.
I'm tired of the same rap songs. Every new hit's just to fucking sing along. Rapping so boring, now correct me if I'm wrong. It's like they took the art out the fucking art form. What's going on, man? I don't understand it. I want something good to listen to. I demand it. All the real artists on another planet, and me, I'm the last MC still standing.